Well, welcome. This is Wendy Patton, and we are at the top of the hour. If you have not already done so, you can download the notes pages. You can follow along. I've got a little follow along outline that's kind of like when you're at church and you get to fill in the blanks. That way, it keeps you more engaged. And the more engaged you are, the more you learn. And there's lots of statistics on that about, if we have to write down some of the things we're hearing, then we're not only hearing them auditorily, I don't even know if that's a word auditorily, but auditory, if you're auditory learners, and those of you that are visual, and also the kinesthetics where you're actually writing down. So we're trying to take all the learning aspects into account here. But what I'm going to be sharing with you, this topic's called Your 2012 Transformation, How to Turn Goals into Gold. And it's a lot. I love goal setting. And the reason I do is because it's truly changed my life. And you're going to get to experience a little bit about what I know about goals, and hopefully you will learn a lot and take away a lot from this webinar today that will really help impact your life, not just business-wise, but in many areas of your life. It's just that because this is a business webinar from a business site, I'm going to focus more so on that area of goal setting, how to set business goals versus just goals for personal things, which we will cover because that's so important. And one of the biggest things I want to encourage you to do is to take away what you learn from this and apply it to all aspects of your life, which we will cover during the session in today's webinar. This webinar is recorded in January 2012. However, I will let you know that it doesn't matter when it was recorded. This could be recorded in January 2015, and all of the information would still be applicable. These are statistics that I'm going to share with you and things about goal setting that are timeless. These are things that will, affect, change your life, I should say, if you implement and use them. So I want to jump right into this. There's a lot I want to share with you. And you will get a recording of this. We are recording it so that you can listen to it again if you missed something or you weren't able to hear a certain part of it, or you had technical difficulties or anything like that, or you wanted to fill in some notes that you might have missed, and you kind of want to hear it over and over again. I like to do that with my goal setting books and things like that. I read them over and over because for me, I'm a learner that likes to really dig in and hear it multiple times for it to really impact and change the way I do things. But let me tell you how I got started in goal setting real quick before we jump into this. In 1995, well, first of all, 1985, I worked for a company called EDS, Electronic Data Systems. And at that time, they were very good about setting your personal goals, in career goals, we called them. And I still use the same format that I used then today, because I think it really works well, and I'll share that with you. But in 1995, I wasn't working for EDS anymore at the time, but I was a part of my local real estate investor group. And they had asked me to share goal setting in January of 1996. And so when you have to share and teach in front of an audience of 100, 200 people, you better know what you're talking about. Meaning you better do some research because you've got to know more to teach something than you do to actually do it. And so I did a lot of research. And I'll tell you, the research on that affected my goal setting significantly, and you're going to hear a little bit of a rendition of that, maybe some modifications, of course, of things I've learned since then as well. But when I redid my goals because of the research I learned in 1996, my income tripled. It really made a difference on my goals that year. So you're going to hear a bit about that also. Now, here's some of the quotes. Most people don't have goals, so they aren't as successful as they could be. They haven't got what they want because they haven't defined it yet. And that is so important. A lot of times, and this is, here we are, New Year's resolutions, but resolutions are really just wishes. And I've done some research on resolutions, and they're really more so, they're what we do socially. Hey, what's your New Year's resolution? What's yours? And sharing those resolutions and wishes, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing. But putting them down in writing and some other things we'll talk about of what makes a real goal a goal versus just a resolution or wish is the difference between high success rate and a much low success rate. I mean, there's so many people who say, I'm going to lose, X pounds. Well, that's a goal for, I mean, that's why the gyms are always crowded in January of every year. They're packed for January, and then come February it's less, and then it starts to fade. Because those are just resolutions, they're not necessarily goals. And we're going to talk about how do you define goals as we go through the webinar today. So we have lots of choices in our we kind of like a cafeteria line in life. You have lots of choices, but you can't have them all. So you must make choices of what you want. Okay? What is it that's most important to you? And let me ask you a question. For most of you, you're on this webinar because you're real estate investors. So if you're not and you're into a dog sitting business, that is going to work just as well as real estate investor as far as this goal setting session goes. It can be used for anyone. But why? You need to be really thinking about, why do you want to be a real estate investor? Is it to make money? Well, why do you want the money? Because these are very, very important things. If we don't know why we want to do something, it's much harder to define what we want to accomplish when we're doing that business. So goals. This topic is called Goals, Charting a Course to Success. And it's for real estate investors primarily. And I always have this little saying about jumping on the goal train. All right. So pay attention. Your results don't lie. And I'm going to leave that up for a second, because you can fill in the blank with your handouts, but pay attention. Your results don't lie. If you are not where you want to be, or I should say, if you're surprised at where you are, you need to pay attention, because your results don't lie. You're there because that's where you've chosen to be, or inadvertently chosen to be, because you haven't necessarily set goals in the proper way and followed up on them in the proper way. And this is hard for some people to swallow. They don't want to know that where they are is because of where they should be. So how do we affect that? And this could be a good thing, by the way, and a bad thing. So if you're looking at your results and they're good, well, there's a reason. If they're bad, there's a reason. And so we need to look at, how do we have this be an upward trend of our results going in the right direction in all areas of our lives. Now, again, specifically more so focused on business today, but I certainly don't want to, ignore the personal side, because, if you're gaining weight, there's a reason. What are your results? Well, you're eating too much probably and not exercising enough. I mean, that's usually the case unless there's a health issue, but you know what I'm saying is the results don't lie. So it's very, 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 very important. And this is actually a good saying that if you want to post it right up in your office, and something to look at is, the results are what matters. And this is a good Thomas Edison quote, if we did all the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. And it's so true. It's like there's so many things that we can do that we're capable of doing, but sometimes we're not always doing it. So, what is it that we really want to accomplish with our goal setting and in our lives? And it's amazing what people can do. I mean, the things that people can do when they set their minds to it. We're human beings are just so smart and so capable of so many, many things. The wonderful thing about reaching goals, as you'll soon discover if you're not already aware of it, is that as you reach one goal, you'll mobilize the atmosphere and mechanics for reaching another goal. And that is so cool about goal setting. I just absolutely love that. It just seems like once you start doing it, it becomes much easier to do, and it drives how you run your life, is the goal setting. So my goal for you today, let's cover what the agenda items are going to be for you today. Why goals? The big 7, the goal areas in your life, and we'll talk about each of those, of course, one being business. Elements of the goals, setting goals, and accomplishing goals, and then practical application. How do we really, because it's not just enough to set goals, but how do we actually accomplish those? What is it that we can do to start to focus on how to accomplish our goals? Now, my goal for you today is that I will teach an overview of goal setting. How does goal setting work? Like the agenda items. How does goal setting work? How can it be effective for you? And how can it really change your life? Because it's got to have results. All of this whole webinar today is about results in your life. How are you going to accomplish the things that you really want to accomplish? Give an understanding of the importance of goal setting. Why is it so important? Why does it really work? I'm going to help you create a business mission statement. And this is important as you're writing these notes down. When you create a business mission statement, that is what's going to set the direction for all of your goals. And it's kind of like having a vision statement for yourself, or a mission statement, okay? Help you create real estate investment goals. And I want to inspire you to continue to do goal setting, both personal and business, okay? That's really, really important. So, as we start, if you've never done goal setting, true goal setting, you're going to learn a lot of things in this webinar. If you've done some goal setting, hopefully you'll learn some things additional that will help you become a better goal setter so that you can accomplish additional goals. So let's talk about why goals, what makes them so powerful. I always ask this, especially in a live audience, how many of you actually have goals? Okay? People have resolutions to shore up a shortcoming in their life, personality, or day-to-day activities. Resolutions are not nearly as powerful as goals, because goals ideally represent movement towards some positive, desirable outcome. So most people don't even have goals, actually. Are they written down? Because it's really, really important that they are in writing. Do you carry them with you? Maybe it's on your iPad, maybe it's on your iPhone, maybe it's on your computer, maybe it's a hard copy that's put inside your planner or your purse or your wallet. But carry them with you, because if you can look at them more and more, that becomes very, very powerful. The visualization of accomplishing those goals. There was a study done at Yale in 1953, and they did a survey of everyone who had written goals when they left Yale. And they followed up with them 20 years later. Only 3% of that class had written goals when they graduated. 20 years later, as they followed these people, that 3% had 97% of that class's wealth. You guys got that? It was not an 80-20 rule. It was a 3-97 rule. Huge difference. So setting goals is very, very important. And they've done studies since then to see that it still is that way. Today, less than 5% of our country has written goals. They may say, oh, I got some goals. Yeah, I got goals. Well, saying them is not having them. There are certain aspects that actually apply to a particular goal to show that it is, in fact, a goal. There's two things about goals that we know for sure. They work, but very few people use them. I don't know why they don't use them. I don't know if they think they're because they're too hard or what the real reason is, but we do know very few people actually use them statistically. If you will go where you are aimed, and that's where our goals are, right? If you think you can, you're absolutely right. If you think you can't, you're also absolutely right. So goal setting is very, very key. And there's a lot of books out there like, The Secret and, I'm just trying to think, what's his, Napoleon Hill, why can't I think of it? The richest, no, wait, let's see, Napoleon, now I'm stuck and I have to look over at my bookshelf to find this one. Napoleon Hill, where are you? You guys are going to laugh at me because it's so obvious, but I'll be thinking about that. Anyways, I'm moving on from that. Okay, so why don't we have goals? Let's talk about why we don't have goals. It's actually really hard work. It takes time and it requires a lot of soul searching to do goal setting properly. I think we have a lot of fear of failure. Well, what if I don't reach my goals? I'm going to be embarrassed that I didn't actually do what I said I was going to do. But we also have fear of success. No, I say, well, why would I be afraid of reaching my goals? Some people actually are afraid of success, meaning that what if I actually do 3 deals this year? Then what? Do I have to do more next year? What do I do to make myself better? What do I do if I have $1 million and that's what I wanted to retire? Then what? What if I'm too young? I don't know what to do next. So there are people that have fear of success. or fear that they're actually going to be sick. And a lot of times too, what holds us back is our own internal beliefs. And this is not meant to be any kind of psychology type of webinar at all, but there are internal beliefs that we sometimes grow up with as a child or through our family life, that something inside us holds us back from actually achieving more goals personally wise. Like maybe, and there's statistics about this, like some people actually think that they're only worth, say, 50 grand a year. So once they get to, $49,000 a year, they pretty much stop because they don't think they're worth more than that. They don't think they're capable or worth more for earning than that amount. So let's talk about the 7 big goal areas. These are goal areas in your life: the financial, mental, physical, family, social, spiritual, and career. Those are the 7 big goal areas. And let's break each one of those down. So financial is the management of your financial resources and obligations, where you want to be financially now and in the future. For me, my financial goals, I set a certain amount that I want as far as my net worth and how I'm going to get there. It's because I have a reason, though, for that net worth, not just because I want a certain amount of net worth, but because I want a certain amount of net worth because I want to do something with it. I have a definite reason why I want a certain amount. Mental, let's look at mental. Mental is the functions of your mind, memory, concentration, learning, creativity, reasoning, and mathematical abilities. What you want to learn in your life. And I won't cover too much more on some of these because those are something that you can deal with later. You've got all the handouts on this. Physical, the many functions of your body: overall fitness, percentage of body fat, skills and abilities, agility, and endurance. And those could be things like, I want to be the weightlifting champion of the world or whatever. Or just could be physical, of how do you take care of your body physically. For me, I have a particular goal. For me, some of my physical goals are, I'm going to be 50 in a couple of years. Well, I want to make sure that I'm physically look as good as I did in my low 20s without, of course, no surgeries, nothing like that. Now, my face, I'm going to have wrinkles and stuff, but I'm talking about my physical fitness and the way that I look and my weight. I want to be as my low 20s. And I know that that's going to take some work for me. So I have some physical goals that I need to do to accomplish that. And don't be laughing at me, all of you. Family. Your immediate family and your relationships with the special people you consider to be part of your family. What goals do you have for your children, your sisters, your brothers, your parents, your uncles, your nephews, your nieces, your grandkids, whatever. Everyone has some family. What is that relationships? What are those relationships that you want for the family? Social, your relationships with others outside of your family and outside of your business. In a word, your friends. Who do you choose to spend your time with? That is your social type of goals that you can set later. Spiritual, your relationship between you and your creator, also defined as the philosophical and humanitarian areas of your life. I have spiritual goals also. Career. Now this is where we're really going to talk about the stuff that we're involved in today. Your involvement in your chosen field. What do you do for a living and how you do it? So that's what we're really going to break down. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. Let's talk about elements of writing goals. They need to be they need to be written, They need to be written down or typed in, something that you can visually see. There's something that is very, very important that affects the brain and also the goal-setting outcome and success of when you write it down. So in order to be a true goal, it must be in writing. Okay. Oh, the highly successful people rarely limit their activities to only one aspect of their life, which is why, by the way, we have the 7 goal areas. But so it's got to be written. It's got to be dated. Okay. So it doesn't, I can't just say, in other words, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay. Well, what does that mean? I want to lose 10 pounds. When? By when? That's why it's by the end of this year or by June 1st or January 25th or whatever. It's got to have a date. It's got to be very clear. How are you going to know that you've accomplished the goal? So clear. If I want to lose more weight, that's not clear. I want to lose 10 pounds, that's clear. It's definable. It's measurable. It's got to be reasonable. In other words, if you have never done a real estate deal in your life and you want to do 20 deals in the next 20 days, that's probably not reasonable. Can it happen? Yes. Is it reasonable? Probably not. Let's start with just doing one in the next 20 days. In other words, that's more reasonable for you. It's got to be measurable. How do you know you've attained it? Kind of goes back to the clear thing too, but how do we know we've accomplished it? Not only is it clear in how it's written, but how do you know you've accomplished it? If it's the 10 pounds, we know. If it's doing one real estate deal, well, how do we know we've done it? What do you mean by doing it? We've closed on it. We've put it in writing. It's been signed by the seller. Is it rehabbed? Is there someone in it? I mean, what's the measurable part of it? How do you know you've attained that goal? Focus towards a business mission or a personal mission, but right now we're talking about business. It's focused towards that, and we're going to break that down in just a minute. It's extension of your personal values. And this is really, really important because we all have personal values, and that's something you should define too when you do your goal setting, is what is really important to you. If spending time with your family is really important to you, but then one of your goals is to be the CEO of one of the largest corporations in the world, well, there's a conflict there. It's probably not, I mean, if you truly value your family time, it's going to be difficult to be the CEO of one of the largest companies in the world. It's just, they don't work well together. Does it mean you're not going to have any time with your family? No. But it's just not going to be able to be one of the most important things to spend lots of time with your family. Michelangelo said, high achievers have bigger visions. The greater danger for most of us is not that we aim too high and we miss it, but that we aim too low and we reach it. So you do want to stretch yourself a little bit on those goals. Again, not ridiculous, but stretch yourself. And I'm always measuring my goals. So let's say I set goals in January to do stuff by the end of the year or some by June, July. And I realize that I'm achieving more than I expected to. I'm going to adjust my goals and make them harder. I'm going to add to, and they're always, your goals are something that can be constantly changing. And that's really important to know, is that sometimes I think we think, well, I said I was going to lose 10 pounds and by June. Well, then all of a sudden, something else happens, or you have an opportunity maybe to go out of the country for 3 months. Well, then maybe you're not going to be able to eat the same way or exercise, but maybe that's another one of your goals. And so that may, in fact, affect the ability for you to lose 10 pounds by June. So you might be able to say, well, I'm going to lose it by the end of August then. You can adjust your goals. You can stretch your times out. You can make them tougher. You might change it. I mean, maybe, I think I want to do 20 deals this year in real estate, but maybe in June I might go, it's just not that important to me anymore. I only want to do 15. That's okay too. You can lower your goals or change them. It is a living document, your goals. They should be constantly being looked at and challenged and evaluated. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That's Napoleon Hill. Why can't I remember his book? Think and Grow Rich. Darn it, that's the book. Okay, that is the book. And by the way, if you haven't read that, you've got to. It's an all-time classic. Most people have it in their bookshelves that are in business, but it is a fantastic book. But he talks so much about what's in the mind. And that's why it's so important to do your goals, put them in writing, and to read them over and over and over. And there are, if you ever read Chicken Soup for the Soul, Jack Canfield talks about some of his goals and how he started to achieve goals through visualization and writing them down and putting stuff up on his ceiling at night to look at. And it's quite some good stories about things like that. But again, it's letting your mind think through your goals even in the evening. And that's one recommendation is that you can read your goals at nighttime and really think about achieving those right before you go to bed. Because then during the night while you're sleeping, your subconscious can start to work on those goals. I know it sounds weird, but it does work. Okay, so let's talk about the two major parts of goal setting. There are two major parts: the contents, which is setting the goal, and the process, the planning behind achieving the goal. Here's some basic questions you want to think about before you set your goals. Where do I want to be by the end of this year, next year, and 5 years from now? How will I get there? How do I know that I have arrived at accomplishment? And these are just some of those questions that you can think through. Who will help me get there? See, successful people don't get there by themselves. And that's really important. So when we look at our goals, we're going to look at who's going to help you get to your goals. I have a great team. I cannot possibly do the things that I do in my business life without the team that I've surrounded myself with. I have a phenomenal team and core group of people, and they're the ones who've helped me get to where I am personally. And same thing with my family, my husband, my children, they're all involved also. What will it cost you to get there? Money, time, other things. Will it cost you sacrifice? Think about what is it going to cost you? How will I measure or monitor my progress? Are you going to do that with someone else? Are you going to read your goals every month and share them with someone, which I'll talk about accountability in a little bit too? Your overall strategy. What business do you want to be in? This is we're into the business mission statement. Okay, and now this is a really deep part, because before you even set goals, you need to think about your mission or your vision statement. It's your overall strategy. It's what business do you want to be in? Where do you see yourself 3-5 years from now? It answers the question, why am I in business? Okay, so this is your business mission statement, because once you define why you're in business, then you can set the goals, and they need to match the mission statement. So investment and career goals. Okay, and some of these might be, what we would call breakthrough goals, goals that are going to really take your business or personal life to a whole nother level. And some of them are going to be smaller. They're not going to be huge goals. They're just going to be measurable, though, and they're goals. But some goals are obviously much bigger than others. So here's my format that I use. If you're taking notes, I use this particular format still. And I use to, so that, by, with who. Okay? So to, which is define the goal. So that, again, how does this tie back to your core objectives or mission statement? Okay? And I'm going to give you some examples of some of these also. By the date the goal will be accomplished. That's really important that you have a timeline on there so that you can push yourself to accomplish the goal by the due date. With who? Who will help you accomplish this goal? Okay. And your business mission. Here's an example of a business mission statement. Millennium Realty, to be the largest and best provider of property management services in Oakland County. You see, it's very clear why they're in business. So everything that Millennium Realty does as far as goals should tie back into being the largest and the best provider in Oakland County. Here's another one, Millennium Rentals, to be known by individuals, corporations, and realtors in North Oakland County as a different solution other than property management or conventional sales for owners of properties that want to lease or sell. And that is one of my sandwich lease option companies, okay? So just gives you some examples. How, why are you in business? Here's an example of some goals. To, and here's the goal, acquire 50 more rental properties to manage so that Millennium Realty will gain a 20% market rate, or 20% growth rate for the year by December 31st of this year. With who? Current office staff plus one more part-time person to be acquired by April 1st of this year. That's just an example of a goal, but you can see how, okay, so going to is the actual goal itself. So that Millennium Realty will gain a 20% growth rate. Why is that important? It ties back to the mission statement. It's got to tie back. What is it going to do to help that vision and mission statement? By, and then again, that's your due date. That's how you know it's going to time stamped. It's going to be accomplishable. That's how you're going to measure it. And how do you measure it? It says 50 more rental properties, not 48, not 47, 50. So it's very specific and clear. And with who? Current office staff, which you could actually document in your current office staff. If it's Beth and Sue and Ronnie, you'd put that down. Okay. Plus one more part-time person. You could say part-time person, 15 hours a week, whatever. And then again, you also have another kind of goal type of thing in there, an action item, which is to hire that person by April 1st of this year. So let's talk a little bit about accomplishing goals. You want to evaluate your alternatives. And especially if you have ever had problems accomplishing goals, this is something that might really help you. You want to list the positives. What are the benefits? What are you going to gain from accomplishing that particular goal? And list some negative repercussions if you fail. Like for instance, if you wanted to add 50 properties to your rental portfolio for a property management company, and you don't do that, what's the repercussion? Well, you're not going to be the number one. You're not going to meet your mission and vision statement. You're not going to get there in the time frame that you'd like to. What are the positives? You're on path for being the biggest and the best in the area, or the biggest, not necessarily the best, because that's customer service type of goals. Time management. Here's some things that will help you. Take maybe some time management classes, tools, etc. You want to keep focused. I mean, we used to have those Franklin Planner type things, but everyone has online type of calendars now. But keep yourself focused and to-do list. Every single day, I have a to-do list. Well, the to-do list are little tasks that relate back to a goal. So let's say I want to manage 50 more properties this year as a property management company. How would I do that? Well, there's some things I need to do in order to get 50, right? How do I even get one? Well, I might need to call 10 for rent signs in the area, call 10 ads on Craigslist, whatever. But that would be one of my tasks for the day. That task ties back to that goal. The goal ties back to my mission or vision statement. And if I'm looking at doing something, if all of a sudden, if all of a sudden I start doing other types of business activities that don't tie back into my goals or my mission statement, then one of two things. Either I'm not going to accomplish the ones I want, or I need to really reevaluate my mission and business statement. Is this the business I want to be in? Maybe it's not. But be very careful for that little shiny object. Us entrepreneurs tend to always go off and follow the shiny object. Oh, a new multi-level marketing, blah, 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 blah. Let's go over there. Oh, I want to open a franchise. Let's learn about franchises. Oh, I want to learn about this type of investing. Oh, wait, I'm going to do that. Focus. You need to look at what your goals are. And hopefully, with this webinar, it will help you accomplish more of your goals and some of the things that, especially as a real estate investor, if there's more you want to learn and do, that I'm hoping I can help you with that also to accomplish your real estate goals. Because I've put together some things that have been part of my goals to help my students also accomplish their goals, which I'll tell you about. But time management classes, one thing I've realized that I've noticed a lot of people that don't accomplish their goals have time management issues. They spend too much time watching TV, for example. And I'm not saying TV is bad. Please don't mishear me. But what I am saying is that the average American watches way too much TV. We know that. There's statistics like, I don't know if it's 5 hours, 7 hours, whatever. That's crazy. I mean, the average person only works 8 hours a day. And if they're on watching TV 5 hours, they're doing diddly crap after work to head toward their goals. Much less spend time with family or other personal things. So you want to look at what are you spending your time on and how do you really get focused towards accomplishing your goals. You want to break down your goals into smaller to-do items, what I call task earlier. So for my 50 homes, I might have these 10 to-do items. Call 3 relocation companies this week to explain our services. Send out 10 postcards tomorrow to homes listed for rent in the paper. Send referral letters to 3 real estate offices in the area by the end of today. And those can be things that you would put on your to-do list. So every day, and there's action, you can do to-do lists through all kinds of things. I do several different ways, I will tell you. I keep kind of a bigger to-do list, bigger items that might not be accomplished in a day or tomorrow or today on a to-do list. And just in Microsoft Word, it's my top level of my directory. I keep it open most of the time. As I think of new things, oh yeah, I need to do that, ties in my goals, pop that baby right into my Word document. That's what works for me. Now, there are other ways to do to-do lists too, where you can actually check them off. But I like every day I create a list. Whether sometimes it'll be before I leave that the day before, or certainly the morning of, the things I need to accomplish in that day. Okay, and then because I like to be able to cross them off. That's something that's important to me. I like that I've done these 3 things out of 5 things. That's pretty cool. Okay, so create your what you call your to-do or task list every day. And then you want to check out your conflicts, just kind of looking at, your personal values versus your goals. Like for instance, or there may be a conflict between 2 goals. For instance, if one of your goals is to reduce debt, but you are increasing your spending by buying too many more rental properties, that may be in conflict with each other, and you have to look at that. Which one is going to take precedence? Maybe I'm not going to buy as many properties, or I'm going to partner with people instead of, here's an example. Instead of increasing my personal debt, because I want to reduce it, instead of me borrowing money to do a deal, I could partner with someone and I have no financial risk, no debt associated with it, but I only get half the profit. Well, that's going to help me reach my goal. And personally, by the way, that's one of my own personal real estate and financial, it's actually a financial goal for my husband and I, that we want to be completely debt free. Now, we're not completely debt free yet. Hopefully in a couple of years we will be. We would have been had our market not tanked so much, but we are very, very careful in borrowing money. That is kind of a no-no for us right now. And we are really trying to pay off the mortgages that we have. We have only a couple mortgages left on a couple of our properties, and the rest of them are free and clear. But that's our personal goal. So you got to have a positive attitude and motivation, of course. Keep your goals visible. Some post them on the mirror, in your bathroom vanity. You could maybe post them there. I keep them on my planner with me, or actually, mine's on my computer, in my purse. You could review them on airplanes, doctor's offices, while driving. Not while driving, really. Just keep teasing on that. You can put them on. There's so many iPad type of things now that you can use. Otherwise, out of sight, out of mind. And if you're first starting doing goal setting, you want to review them a lot more than someone who's been doing them for years. For me, I don't review mine every single day. No, because I have a system. I know I'm focused towards, I have a vision and a mission and some goals, and I'm focused toward that. So I don't review them every single day of my life. But you should read them daily or weekly. We just talked about that. Reevaluate them monthly. I've talked about changing your goals, being open-minded that it's okay to change your goals as you go along. Plan at night the next day's list. We talked about that. Again, it helps you start to think through them in your subconscious. Visualize your accomplishment. Write a check. I think it was a Jim Carrey who wrote a $10,000 check. I think this is the right story. If not, you can look this up online, but it's pretty close. Jim Carrey, before he became a famous actor, he had written a $10,000 check, and he put it inside his father's casket because he had always told his father he wanted to be an actor. And he had written this check, and so he started to visualize this check. Jack Canfield did the same thing. He wrote $100,000 up on his ceiling that he wanted to make on his books, and then he did $1 million later. Well, anyways, he looked at that up on his ceiling. He looked at the accomplishment and visualized it. And Napoleon Hill talks a lot about this in his Think and Grow Rich, about the thinking part of it, the visualizing your accomplishment. So, so important. Birds of a feather flock together. This is why it's really important to be spending time with like-minded people. I have a group that I'm involved in, three different groups of kind of math, two that are, I will call two different groups that are truly mastermind type of groups, where the people involved in those groups want to accomplish very similar things as I do. One of them is a small mastermind that's just for real estate investors. And they're local. We're all live here in this area. We've all done lots of deals, and we're all trying to help each other meet our own personal goals and share like-minded experience. And then I have another one that is more for personal. It's about building my own personal life and the personal side of my goals and living my life the way that I want to envision for my personal self. So birds of a feather flock together. If you are there is a statistics too that take your 5 closest people, your friends, add up all their incomes, divide by 5. That's the average of the 5, and you should be very close to that yourself. Now, why do I share that with you? Because birds of a feather flock together. Your average is probably right in line with that. And if it's not high enough, then you need to add some additional people to your sphere of influence, people you start spending some time with that have higher goals. It doesn't mean dump your friends, because I have some friends that are some of my dearest people in my life are completely broke, and that's okay because that's not their goals. And yet I would not ever say that that's not who I would want to spend time with. However, I also have other people that are very focused on business and entrepreneurship, and I do spend time with them also because they help me in that area of my life, whereas my other friends help me in other areas of my life. But just think about that and reward your accomplishments. Reward yourself, on accomplishing goals, okay? For instance, maybe you said you were going to buy your first property in 20 days. Well, when you buy that first property, maybe take yourself out for dinner, or take your spouse out for dinner, significant other out for dinner, or whatever it is that you'd want to do. Maybe you take a trip after you sell the first rehab and you've made X dollars on it. You take a trip to reward yourself, because we do want to reward ourselves for accomplishing our goals. And be accountable. This is really important. I always like to think that, and this is why I have a mastermind group, because actually though my mastermind groups are much more than just masterminding ideas. We hold each other accountable to our goals. So if I say I'm going to do such and such, they're right on my behind if I don't. And they're asking me and they're following up with me, hey, did you do such and such? You said you were going to, why didn't you do it? And that's really a good thing to have in your life, is someone who is going to hold you accountable. Now, it's not usually good to have your spouse do this, by the way. I mean, if I tried to hold my spouse accountable for everything he did, he gets mad at me, right? And vice versa. It's like, don't tell me what to do, So very few relationships can have that type of accountability with each other. Some, it does work, okay? But for the most part, when you're sharing with an outside group or people that don't have any reason to tell you, oh, honey, it's okay. It's okay if you didn't do that. Or someone who might be the opposite, might be critical. You said you were going to do that. See, you don't do anything that you say. So it could go either way with spouses, but typically it's not the best thing. It's better to have a friend or another person hold you accountable. George Washington Carver says 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. And this is one of my favorite quotes. Every time I speak, I pretty much use this. And so, no excuses. Let's get to it. Let's write our goals and take time to do this. And I really encourage you to, take like an hour or two to start doing your goal setting. Everything we experience today is a result of choices you have made in the past. And there is a great book by Jack Canfield, and it's called The Success Principles. And then I think this quote came from Jack Canfield, but read that book. It is absolutely, it's really a good book, and it goes through his lot of choices. The whole first chapter or two is about the choices that you make in your past and how it affects your current. But pay attention, your results don't lie. And that's going back to the very beginning. It's very important. Your results don't lie. So let's talk about practical application. Spend about 2 hours to start. Do some quiet, soul-searching time away from everyone and try to use these formats. Create a mission statement for investing. Why are you going to invest? Why are you in business? Create 3 to 4 goals in the format discussed. To, so that, by, with who. Break down goals into tasks for the next month. What do you need to do next month to start meeting these goals, or to meet some of them? Maybe some of your easier goals, you want to start with those, because the easier that you do these type of goals, the more that you do these types of goals, the easier it is to accomplish other goals. And you start getting into that mode of, oh, let's accomplish this one. Let's accomplish this one. This is really cool. Small achievable task on your to-do list. Set time in 1 month to spend 2 more hours. So again, we don't want to overwhelm ourselves with this unless you've got the time now and you're ready to go for it. And then you break it down more. Set up a process to follow up and you reevaluate. Put it on your calendar. Changing your goals and your mission. It's okay, we've talked about that, to do both of those. Set your personal goals in the next several months, meaning go back to those other 7 areas of life and start adding goals in those areas also with your family, your friends, your social, your spiritual, your physical, all of those. Financial. And I personally tie my financial and my business all into one, but some people keep them very separate, but I kind of tie those together. Research for your improvement. Look on the internet, read some books. There's lots of different goal setting books. But again, don't do analysis paralysis. Just start with what I've shared with you today. It's easy, it's very simple, and it works. And then if you want to learn more and more about, goal setting, then start listening to some other stuff. I know Brian Tracy has some good stuff out there, and I'm sure you can just Google it and find some stuff, even on eBay, some used courses. Always try to improve your goals and yourself, but never, never, never give up. The principles always work if you work the principles. So let me wrap up for today. Don't let the circumstances of today create your future. Okay, so wherever you are today, forget it. That does not affect where you're going to go. You have to choose where you're going to go. Live out your dreams by creating your future. Well, thanks for listening to this presentation and overview on goal setting. It's one of those topics that is just a real passion for me, and there's so many good books that you can read and resources that you can go to. For instance, I'm looking around my office right now, but there's this one really good book. Brian Tracy has some good stuff. It's called Goals. There's also, I told you about the success principles, Think and Grow Rich. There's also Idiot's Guide to Setting Your Goals or whatever. Don't get carried away with it, but do a little bit of research. Really recommend you spend some time going through your goal setting. So here's what I would like to encourage you to do to show that you heard this and you're really trying to put your goals into this type of format. Go to my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Wendy Patton. And you probably already have liked that page, but if you haven't, click the like. And then you'll start getting my feeds too on blogs and things that I write with regards to real estate investing beyond Inner Circle. Then enter one goal in the format discussed. If you want to enter more and you want to share those on my Facebook page on the wall, I would encourage you to do that. That means in the format of to, so that, by. And then if you'd like to, share your company vision or mission statement on that page. I would love to see those, and that is one way that you can get some feedback from me. So thanks so much for sharing or for listening to what I have to share with you about goal setting, and I hope you really got something out of it. I really encourage you to sit down and really do that soul searching like I talked about, for putting your goals down in writing and really following through with them. It will change your life. Thanks so much.